Good afternoon. Welcome to the June 1st, 2021 meeting of Glens Falls Planning Board. We will begin this evening's meeting with the discussion and approval of the minutes from the May 4th, 2021 meeting. Start with Mr. Cardy in the comments.
I approve.
Mr. Brown? Ms. Andrews?
No comment.
No comments. I had none either. That said, I make a motion that the planning board hereby approves the minutes of the May 4th, 2021 meeting of the planning board as presented. Have a second?
Second.
Mr. Cardy, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. The first item under new business this evening is Michael Zelensky, owner of section 302.12, block 10, lot 18, commonly known as 203 Bay Street, seeking a curb cut to widen the apron of the driveway at this location. Pursuant to city zoning, chapter 220, section 220, 48A, subpart 2, this application requires an advisory opinion by the planning board to common council.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
first member is not here yet. He's not in the building yet. I don't know if you wanted to go to the second one.
Yeah, that's fine. Zelensky, he's not here.
He's not in the building yet.
Okay, thank you. We'll table Michael Zelensky application for a curb cut pending his arrival. And we'll move on to the next item, which is Paul Mccartney, owner of section 302.19, block 19, lot 4, commonly known as 42 Harrison Avenue, seeking a curb cut to extend the driveway to enable access to a second parking space at this location. Pursuant to city zoning, chapter 220, section 220-48A, subpart 2, this application requires an advisory opinion by the planning board to the common council. And we're awaiting the arrival of Mr. McCartney, I guess.
I have a question that doesn't need him, unless he needs to be here. The application was checked off as a street opening. Does that matter? It just was checked off on the application rather than on a curb cut.
Oh, yeah. You go to the hot seat up in front.
All right. Thank you. Hello,
Good evening, and you are?
my name is Paul Mccartney.
Paul McCartney.
I own the property at 42 Harrison Avenue,
Okay.
Glens Falls.
Is there anything you care to discuss or?
Well, the idea is that I need a second parking space, but I'm on a very small lot, and the only option I have is in front of the house to put a parking apron. I'm not sure that my first diagram was accurate enough, so I made a more accurate one today, describing the curb cut into the sidewalk and the proposed paved apron, and you can see how close I am. This is the current parking space.
I'll be honest, I didn't have an opportunity to drive. I usually look at all these, but I didn't.
Mr. Ackley,
Mr.
Mr.
McCartney?
McCartney, sorry.
Okay, so this is
Harrison Ave.
this is Harrison Avenue
No,
here.
it's right here. I'm sorry, I didn't put it on
Oh,
there.
okay.
This right here is the front of the property.
So this is the front.
Yes. And the other two properties are abutting right up against my property line. And there's a small parking space cut in next to 78 Crandall's parking space. And the only option I have is to put an apron in front of the house, do a small curb cut and extend my driveway so that they can park over there as well.
So if this board were to grant it, well, understanding this board's only giving advisory opinions anyway, and the common council is the board that actually grants these. If you're parking in front of the house, you would also need an area variance from the zoning board. So this board can still discuss it. We'd have to go to the zoning board as well.
Shall I write Harrison Avenue on there? So
If you want to. That's all right.
Thank you. This is Harrison this way. And Randall's over here.
This is correct.
Yeah, this way. Thank you. I need several diagrams today.
It's already, we had discussed it, you don't do the house.
The house is, almost gonna take the whole front, that's the house, this is parking space here. And this is you guys, on curb line,
Yeah, I guess he has the park. Which is actually the front of the house? You're on Harrison, right?
Yes, I face Harrison. And the street, the house next to me faces Crandall, but has their parking on Harrison.
That's what I thought, right, that's what I was a little.
And then 44 Harrison, their parking is on, literally on the direct side of my property line. So the house, there's only a foot or two, I can't remember what I did today, between either driveway. And so the only actual off-parking space I have is right in front of the porch, between the porch and the sidewalk.
So the Crandall address is on a corner.
Yes, that's the corner lot. It was just sold, it used to be the property of Mr. Gary Dobert.
Yeah, there's something about having, like, to get a zoning change for them, to park in front of the house.
So that's one more meeting, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any members of the public that care to comment on this?
No comments right now.
Okay, thank you. That said, we'll begin with our architectural consultant, Mr. Brown.
Well, I noticed the same technicality in the application as board member Kim did. It was advertised as a curb cut, but the city processed it as a street opening. They each are different computations for the city's fees, and I guess that's just a technicality that has to be straightened up with the city.
Right.
Regardless, it's quite an awkward situation. The overall lot is 31 feet.
Yes.
Yeah. Have you ever approached the Crandall Street owner about getting a few feet from them?
No, they have it's a 2-apartment house, and it was just sold to a new owner. Mr. Dobert passed away recently. And with the way their cellar entrances, it's an old open up from the side. They have one spot for the downstairs apartment, and the next one is for the upstairs, right next to my property.
Hmm.
So I haven't actually.
So
It's really over.
there isn't any space there to think
No.
about that.
No.
Yeah. I guess my only other question was to try and comply with the city code to this business of the parking between the primary residence street. Does that have to go to the ZBA for variance? Or,
Yes, if I'm reading it correctly, he's looking to park essentially on the grass strip, right?
Yeah.
So that would have to go to the ZBA.
you
I'm
know,
hoping to put a paved apron on that strip
Right.
so that it won't be on the grass.
Just for your understanding, there is that an ordinance?
And as part of the
Regarding
city
parking.
law on parking.
What is it?
It's part of the city law.
I saw William Celeste sent me the information, and that's who told me to apply for the curb cut. But I'm willing to apply for whatever is necessary to create the second spot.
Well, and you probably needed both. If you need to widen the curb, you need the curb cut, and because some people widen the curb but don't need to park in front of the house. So, and then you'd also need
Two separate.
the approval to park in front of the house as well. So you can get the comments of this board tonight, and then we still have to, you could talk to the code office after the meeting, because it would be another application that you'd have to submit for a zoning variance.
We'll start with Ms. Andrews.
I see no problem with it pending the zoning board's approval.
Ms. Colvin.
Is it possible if you extend the driveway back, that you can pull 2 cars in?
No, the house actually goes closer to the driveway, and there's a porch on the front, and so the porch doesn't go to the extent of the house. So there's like 11 feet, I don't know exactly how many feet, but between the house and the front of the porch. And the driveway is longer because the porch doesn't go the whole length of the front of the house. So there's not enough room between the house and the parking spot, the driveway for 78 Crandall.
Well, so I'm wondering if we could potentially, what is there, like, I know that there has to be some separation, correct, between the neighbors, but can we,
No. Only for structure, this is not considered
Okay.
an appurtenant structure.
So I guess, so if you were to pave, so as I'm looking at Google Maps, this is what I'm looking at.
Mhm.
So if you were to pave this and all the way back and extend, well, it looks like you don't really need a curb cut there to be able to have 2 cars. Like, I know that the house comes out, so if you have it paved all the way back there, would you be able to fit the 2 cars?
No, it won't fit a car. The car will be over the line onto the driveway for 78 Crandall.
So you want the curb cut here?
I just want to extend the driveway so that we can pull in the front. I already pulled my car back far enough that we could do that. If I were to put a curb cut anywhere else, there would be no place to deal with snow. It's a really small area. I already make a fortress of snow in the winter, and I wouldn't have any place to take the snow.
So you want to be able to park here?
Right across the front.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And would the tree stay?
Yes. There's a cement like border, and then there's 1.5 to 2 or 3 feet between that and the tree. So I just want to make the cement, make it so that I understand it has to stay cement, make it so it's at an angle. I need to repave my driveway anyway, so I'm hoping to do it all at once, and then go straight in front of the house and straight out. And then the spot that's there can be paved back a little bit further, so that I'm a little bit closer to the house to enable the passage in front of the car into the parking apron we're hoping to put in.
Okay. All right, that's it. Those are my questions.
Thank you. Mr. Accardi.
Yeah, I think I approve that, I can approve that, but maybe you, Paul, you can put a grass strip between the sidewalk and the parking, like 2 or 3 or what?
Yes.
So that doesn't, right on the, doesn't right on the sidewalk,
Yes, when I talked with you today, I should have mentioned this. I assumed that there was going to be some kind of regulation of distance from the sidewalk. So I didn't put in a distance there, but there's plenty of room for several feet between there.
Yeah, that was be my approval.
Yeah, it just softens it a little. Best you can do.
I would think some evergreen shrubs between the sidewalk and the parking would help soften the situation.
Good point.
So like a parking strip, or
Like,
not parking strip,
put some,
but
no,
curb,
just shrubs.
okay,
In the green space, right?
awesome.
Yeah, and,
So it kind of screens it a little.
yeah, I would suggest that you have several copies pass around to the zoning board.
Of this?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can show you plantings here, some,
Okay,
whatever you want to put in there, they want to put yews or short, small arborvitae, you wouldn't want them too big, but you can talk about that. But that's a good point, good suggestion. I had no problem with it myself. So that said, sounds like we're all okay with it as long as you get the requisite variance from the zoning board. So, make a motion that the Glens Falls Planning Board hereby submits the following advisory opinion to the common council, that they should look with favor on the application of Paul McCartney, owner of 42 Hudson Avenue. I'm sorry, Harrison. And we note that this recommendation, if the common council was to grant this, would require a variance from the zoning board of appeals in order to do this. And our suggestion is that you put some plantings between the proposed parking space and the sidewalk to soften the effect, kind of shield that a little bit.
okay.
Second?
Second, Mr. Cardy, all in favor? Any opposed? No.
Thank you.
Okay, well, good luck, Mr.
I
McCartney.
get to keep this thing. Thank you, everyone.
So, yeah, it won't automatically get submitted, so you'll have to submit an application.
All right, thank you.
We'll help you through the process.
And how do I contact you?
Just come to our office or?
Is it in this building?
No, we're over on, above the desert. That's the Caesars. And it's at,
Oh, thank you.
Will's downstairs also. You can talk to him.
I'll get it.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Are you up? Just the other.
Where do I sit?
Is this Hudson Headwaters?
Yep.
Do you know if Mr. Zelensky is showing?
Not yet.
Okay. All right, so we will move along. This is site plan review 21-0022. Hudson Headwaters Health Network, owner of section 309.35, block 2, lot 4, commonly known as 100 Broad Street, proposes, excuse me, to renovate 2 building entrances, rehabilitate parking lots, and include a new walkway to the building at this location. Proposal includes shifting 1 curb cut out on Hudson Street. Pursuant to City Code Chapter 220, Section 220-18C, Subpart 3, this application requires planning board review and approval. And you are?
I am Allison Yovine from MJ Engineering on behalf of Hudson Headwaters Health Network. And you want me to go through the changes or?
Not just,
Okay.
well, yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay. So the existing building is to remain, and we have some renovations to the 2 entrances. And also we've been looking at currently the sidewalk is at an angle, and we'd like to have the sidewalk on the west side to be parallel to the building, which will realign this driveway. We're going to keep this curb cut. The existing curb cut is to remain.
That's
but
on Broad Street.
Yep, that's Broad Street, and this is Hudson Ave. But this curb cut down here will have to shift a little bit to the east. Also, just to orient yourself, this is Stewart's here. Currently, we have parking that goes to the property line, but with the Stewart's renovation, there's no way to use this space any longer for parking, so this is all gonna become green space. We do have a ramp here that'll be for an ambulance entrance, but that is not definite, but that's a thing that we have on our plan for bidding purposes. Then on the east side, we have a little drop-off area for cars, and we'd like to essentially just repave the driveway or the parking lot, have a new ADA compliant sidewalk, and have a dumpster enclosure. But the alignment of this parking lot remains as is currently. And I did bring, or I also had in the package elevations for the architectural improvements that were also included in your package. I know it's probably hard to see from far away, but we're just making the entrances more aesthetically pleasing.
So what does that involve?
They're going to cover the front entrances. It's just a redo of the covered porch area, and just to help signify the Hudson Headwaters and with their branding.
Okay. Thanks. All right, that it?
Yeah, so questions?
Very good. We'll get to that.
Okay.
Are there any members of the public who care to comment?
There are none right now, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We will begin then with our architectural consultant, Mr. Brown.
I have approximately 4 or 5 questions. Some of them are technical. The agenda item was advertised as site plan review, so my question is, are we including architectural review here, or how does the board deal with that? Aside from that, the site plan drawings submitted are marked preliminary submittal. Now, this board is supposed to review final drawings, and obviously if the applicant changes something after that, then they should come back here to get that alteration approved. But we're here tonight with those site plans, and I would presume that the board would accept them as the final or complete submittal at this time, with the understanding by the applicant that they would, if they go through changes there, they have to come back.
Right now we have them as drawings that are ready to be put out to bid.
Yeah.
But we wanted to make sure that the board was, of course, okay with them prior to doing that. So in our mind, I guess we're hoping that they're final drawings, unless you have some reason to have us change something.
Yeah. Now, I know that most professionals don't like to say complete until you're going to bid or something like that. Regardless, as long as we have that understanding in place with the board. My first question is the south entry exit on the west parking lot on the Hudson Avenue. The construction drawings show a tree being removed because of the curb cut shift.
Right.
My question is that a city tree? Is a permit required to remove that, or is it part and parcel of your property?
I believe that one would be a city tree, so we can work on seeing if we need to relocate that. We can work with the city on that.
Yeah. I mean, if it's a city tree, I would suspect the city would be happy if a new one was placed next to it.
Right, yeah.
That sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But My question was, who owns the tree? Um, The apron is shown as asphalt pavement. Usually the board likes to see concrete aprons. The board should consider their wishes on that. And also another technical item, changing the curb cut, does that require a permit or an application to change the curb
I
cut?
believe so, since we're just shifting it,
Yeah.
so I don't think we need to go there.
And the last concern was whether or not the exterior lighting that is shown, will that be adequate? Are you going to change it?
It's the same light fixtures that are there currently, they're just going to be moved slightly because the sidewalk is going to be running through they're just being moved with enough light.
Okay, they're well, there's some post fixtures
Yep,
and fixtures on the building, I believe.
right, yep.
Yeah. Okay, that was it.
Thank you. Begin, before I go any further, we should probably resolve this issue, whether this requires architectural review or not. I tend to think that maybe it does. You have, let me just ask you, I look at your legend and it says fiber cement panel system, is that new?
I didn't bring the architect with me today, so, yes, I believe it's new.
We've got pretty extensive fiber cement panel system. Redoing the entrances,
Yep,
not really reconfiguring them, but changing them.
yep,
And
And it's mostly the one on the right, if I remember, that's like a flat entrance, it doesn't have any over thing on it yet, so it
Right.
turns it more into a welcoming,
exactly.
rather than a back door.
Yes, yes.
And are these windows added, or do you know? You know, there's a lot of, there are several details here. The head detail, sill detail, window types.
Yeah, I think the windows are gonna be replaced. Windows replaced, and then there's also this addition of, ambulance entry.
Okay. Then we should conduct an architectural review on this, which is a different application.
Okay.
Yeah, but you can still talk about it tonight if you want
Yep.
to give her any comments on it.
That's a good point. So we'll look at it, but we're not going to formally review it. So
Okay.
we'll proceed with the site plan. I'll start with Mr. Mccartney.
I have no problems except the lighting. I can't find the lighting, but you got lighting that's.
Yeah, the light fixtures are on the site plan. There are two existing fixtures on this side that are just going to be nudged just a slight bit closer to the building so that this new sidewalk can go in. Currently, the sidewalk is not 5 feet wide, and we want to make sure that there's a nice, adequately sized sidewalk. And then there's a light fixture over on the west side that's going to be just moved a bit closer to the building to, so that the sidewalk can be installed.
Excuse me, there's not a lot of light back there behind the building. Like after dark.
Okay, like behind building? you
No, I
mean
mean
what-
by the west parking lot.
Okay. Well, we can look to see if we should add another one, but again, this parking lot area is going to be removed, so you can see, this light fixture is enough for that parking.
There's a ratio, but there's some kind of.
Hang on, we'll
I'm sorry.
get to you.
Yeah.
Are you done?
Yeah.
Thank you. Ms. Culligan.
I have no questions on the site plan, other than if we can make a note about a tree, if the tree is removed, replacing it.
Okay. And, okay.
Sorry, the two things were the lighting in the back is because that's kind of a big parking lot that has not much lighting at all. I was wondering if they could add light in the green space.
Sure.
Perhaps. There's a formula sometimes with some of the lighting fixtures that tell you how far into the parking lot it shines.
Yeah.
And so that it's not a dark space, that's all.
Right, yeah.
Because it is behind the Stewart's building, which is now gonna be another blank space, empty space. The other thing was just not specifically related, but in the seeker review, it talked about archaeological concerns.
Mhm.
Now, what does that mean?
It just means that this is an archaeological sensitive area, but this is already a disturbed site, and I believe this would be a type 2 action since it's an existing building. Is
Yeah,
that-
I would agree. And sometimes the seeker online, it auto-populates some of
Yeah,
these
this is-
architectural, so it'll,
Mapper does this automatically
Okay.
when we go through that program, so some of the stuff.
Yeah, I didn't know if the area was specifically sensitive for any reason that I didn't know about, like, did the Indians once live there or something, I don't know.
Well, it was already been disturbed, so if there was anything, it's been disturbed once.
Right, okay. That's all.
Thank you. So, while we're looking at this, does anybody have any comments regarding the architectural aspects of this?
Is there any color information about
Well,
the
there will-
exterior?
There will be, it can,
Yeah.
so,
Okay.
any
Okay.
color finishes. Mr. Cardy, did you have any? No. Sullivan?
No, just what Mr. Brown said.
No, it's fine. Yeah.
Okay, so that's, I had no other comments regarding the site plan. The layout here is pretty good. So, that said, you need to seek
now, if the board agrees that it's a type 2, then you don't have to do the seeker review.
You agree? Type 2. Therefore, no further action is required. Regarding site plan, I make a motion that Glens Falls Planning Board, acting as the Board of Site Plan Review, hereby grants site plan approval for the project identified as Hudson Headwaters Health Network located at 100 Broad Street, as presented at the meeting of 1 June 2021, subject to the following conditions: that the tree on Hudson that is in fact removed, that it be replaced in accordance with the city's requirements, and additionally that adequate lighting be provided for the parking lots on the west side, specifically the west side of the west parking lot. Other than that, I don't think there were any additional comments.
There's a comment about the driveway, right? The asphalt versus.
Oh, yeah.
The apron,
Yeah.
Oh,
So you want concrete apron?
Yes.
Okay.
yeah.
so I think that would do it. Do I have a second?
Second?
Ms. Sullivan? All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
No opposed? Now, with respect to the architectural, we'll have to submit.
Let's spend the renderings and I'll have the architect come and explain it to you.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Reading Mr. Zelinski.
Nothing yet.
All right, so we will move on down to the next item is site plan review 21-0023, the Queensberry Hotel, or of section 302.20, block 24, lot 1, commonly known as 88 Ridge Street, is proposing an approximately 5,200 square foot addition to the hotel at this location. Additional footprint will be located in the existing landscape parking lot area. Pursuant to City Code, Chapter 220, Section 220-17C, subpart 12, this application requires planning board review and approval. And additionally, we have architectural review 21-0034, Greensbury Hotel, owner of tax map number 30, Section 302.20, Block 24, Lot 1, commonly known as 88 Ridge Street. Is proposing a 100 square foot addition to the hotel. Proposal includes cosmetic renovation of the ballroom and pre-function space. Pursuant to City Code Chapter 220, Section 220-17D, this application requires planning board review and approval. We will, I think it's expeditious just to review both of these architectural site plans simultaneously.
I would do the secret simultaneously too.
Very good.
Good evening, how are you?
Good evening.
Would you like to do the site plan review first or the architectural review plan first? You want to do it simultaneously?
We're doing simultaneously. You can start with the site plan and
Sure.
then go to the architecture.
Perfect.
And for the record, if you state your names and relationship to the application.
Will do. Yeah, well, I think they can see it there.
I've got a site plan, so I don't.
Okay. All right, good. My name's Ed Anchor with Affinity Design Group. We've got Chris Kyle from Environmental Design Partnership, and Ed Moore is joining us as well from the Queensberry Hotel.
Very good. Bear with me for a minute.
Sure.
So, if you want to get started, whatever you have to discuss, add, etc., regarding site plan and architecture, go
Sure.
ahead.
Great. Well, thanks for having us. Welcome back. Our first one back in person. It's nice to be in person again.
Yes, it is.
Great. So we're here tonight to present the Queensberry Hotel addition and renovation. It's the next phase in a long-standing series of renovations to the hotel by Ed Moore and his partners. Basically, what we're going to be doing at the hotel during this round, what we're proposing is to do about a 5,200 square foot addition, like you mentioned. This addition is going to basically land in the spot that's immediately behind the building, kind of behind the big retaining wall that exists. We're basically taking over a mechanical court that exists in the back, existing transformers there, some existing mechanical equipment, so as to create a minimal disruption to the overall site plan. We're taking advantage and get less utilized space along the back of the building to make that happen. Basically, the ballroom consists of essentially three components. Number one, the ballroom addition. Number two, a banquet kitchen to supplement the existing kitchen and cooking spaces within the building. And then also a comprehensive cosmetic upgrade to the existing ballroom. I'm sure you're all familiar with the hotel, but Maple Street, Ridge Street, East Washington Street, the hotel's existing parking lot in the back. Basically what we're doing is we're reconfiguring the handicap parking spaces along the back of the building to basically get aligned with the existing or the new proposed ballroom so as to minimize the disruption to the existing parking. Currently there are about 147 spaces. We're going to be down at about 138 spaces, which includes 6 handicap parking spaces. As far as the existing utilities on the site go, we are relocating the transformer from the back of the building, which is currently in the mechanical court, which lives right about here, in this kind of location right here. This is just an enlarged version of this plan. That transformer is going to get relocated basically to the side of the site so that we can accommodate the new building in that location. We've had several meetings with National Grid on site that are comfortable with the plan and the routing of the new electrical service. So essentially, all the existing municipal services, aside from the electrical, stay in place. The septic, the sewer, the stormwater, we've calculated all the existing, what would be required for the new addition. We're not exceeding any of the code required services that exist on site. No new curb cuts, no reconfiguration of the parking, or the drive lane, as it were. It's really just fundamentally taking over some unutilized space on the back of the building. So that's essentially the site plan. Probably pause there for a second, take questions, and then we'll talk about the architecture. Or do you want to talk about the architecture?
No, that's a good idea. We'll go through the
Sure.
site and
I'm sorry.
start over here.
Is he okay? You can move over.
Or actually,
Yeah, I'm watching you in the mirror. actually.
Oh,
we'll
Yeah.
start with our, I'm sorry,
Good idea.
our architectural consultant, Mr. Brown.
This, we're doing site plan first.
But actually, let me back up, I get carried away. Are there any members of the public that care to comment?
There's no comment.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Brown, sorry.
Regarding site plan review, my only comment was the short environmental assessment form. Question 8B was regarding public transportation. It should read yes, because Ridge Street accommodates a lot of bus traffic.
CDTA has a line that
Yeah,
goes down. Yep.
and technical correction there. The other thing in that form, 12A, wanted to respond to a question from the board about what the intention of that response was. And I cited as substantially contiguous through the Three Squares Historic District across the street, the listed city park, and the Mccartney House restaurant on the opposite corner. So the yes response on that is proper. That's the only items I have. Site plan looks good to me. I didn't see any things that I questioned.
Thank you. Now, Ms. Andrews?
The traffic was one of the concerns, if there was going to be additional traffic. I don't know, when you have an event, I mean, theoretically, you could have all three, I don't know if this is site plan, it's probably not site plan. But if you have all three ballrooms going, that's a lot of bodies. And you still have the same number of exits, the number of exits to the ballroom and bathrooms didn't seem to change.
Right, so during the last round of renovations, the bathrooms were actually renovated to accommodate the future use of this ballroom. So we've already taken care of that piece as a kind of a precursor to the ballroom space. So the number of toilet fixture counts, which are included in the life safety plan that was included in the packet, reflect the code required number of toileting facilities throughout the building for that first floor use. So we have enough toilets, in toileting as it were. With the addition of the ballroom, we're actually reconfiguring the space a little bit on the inside to accommodate more direct access out to the parking lot from the new ballroom. We're also reconfiguring the exiting from the existing ballrooms to accommodate multiple points of exit from not only back into the existing building, but also in the pre-function spaces that exit directly to the outside of the building as well. One of the things that we had to accommodate, we can talk a little bit more about this in the architectural side of things, but because we're increasing the floor area of the ground floor, first floor, right now technically the building doesn't meet the code required maximum floor area for the first floor, and then obviously we're planning on adding an addition to that. So what we've gone through the process of is creating essentially a firewall within the confines of the building to not only correct the situation with the existing non-conformance, but also to separate the ballroom spaces completely from a firewall condition, so that we take a questionable situation, we make it better, and the new situation is completely fire protected from the rest of the entire building.
Yeah, because that was my concern, if something happened, like how to get out.
Yep, that was our first, we knew that if we were gonna put an addition on, even if it was, 1,000 square feet, we were gonna have to address this firewall concern because we're over the allowable fire area on the first floor. So
That's a question, et cetera.
He's already made his presentation. I've already gone through all this.
I mean, that's not something that this board gets into.
Yep,
So,
Mr. Vanders and I talked about that before. Yep, but it's an important point because it does affect the overall exiting from the building, but we've thought through that and accommodated it.
Good. Yeah, that was my only real concern.
okay, thank you. Ms. Cullen?
I have no questions on the site plan.
I didn't have any other, so if we want to proceed.
Proceed with the architecture? Sure. Good, okay. All right, so we'll start with the floor plan, and basically, as I alluded to before, the existing conference corridor that is here right now, the bathroom spaces in that space were completely renovated to accommodate the new use. Essentially, the ballroom east and west are current existing square footage in space right now. We're not necessarily affecting that total square footage. What we are doing is creating a little bit more storage for tables and chairs in that space, because that's kind of a problem right now, storing all those pieces and parts of furniture. And then essentially what we're doing is we're creating a movable wall at the center line here, renovating the existing movable wall that separates the east and west ballrooms. And then this large Adirondack ballroom north is new space with an attached banquet kitchen. One of the things we realized very quickly right out of the gates was that the existing kitchen facilities are original to the building, and they're far outmoded, especially if we're going to add this much capacity for the ballroom space. What we did is we created a dedicated banquet kitchen that cooks specifically for the ballroom spaces, not only the existing east and west, the new, but also the gold ballroom a little bit further down the hallway. We've reconfigured the transfer of essentially goods and services, kind of back of house area to be able to get from the banquet kitchen to the gold ballroom, kind of taking the curves out of that back hallway there, so it's much more straight shot. The warm room basically remains the same, but we've taken the opportunity to create a little bit more pre-function space within the space in the back there that was previously, well, it's currently right now, a set of old bathrooms that were used for rooms and kind of space abilities and ventilating properly. So we're going to eliminate that and create a clear pathway with the pre-function area. So the firewall that I alluded to essentially exists from the north corridor, which is where this corridor that we added, which is essentially back of house, through this set of double doors. There's an existing firewall that lives here right now, but we're essentially creating a firewall condition that separates this entire portion of the building from the first floor space on the back side there. So it's a pretty straightforward floor plan. There's not a lot of jigs and jogs there. Kind of creating an opportunity for the existing kitchen spaces to function better. The new kitchen spaces will function primarily for banquets, but there'll also be some corollary use there. As far as the outside of the building goes, I'll scoot this over a little bit. As far as the outside of the building goes, these are a couple of renderings that we did to kind of illustrate the aesthetic of the overall outside. These are the views directly from the parking lot. This is the current porte cochere that exists as the drive lane. So we're creating this kind of emphasized facade along the back of the building. The arch tops mimic what's going on Maple Street with the existing historic hotel, taking a little bit of a modern interpretation of that in-between, this kind of colonnade in the middle. Large glass windows, these are about 12 foot tall. They flood that light. We've created a bit of a parapet at these two end conditions and the section in the middle to hide mechanical equipment behind that. So you really have to be kind of out past East Washington in order to be able to see anything that's on the roof. And we've tucked that down and kept it in the back of the building, so you really don't get a view of the mechanical equipment at all. Although we will have full new ventilation systems, not only for the east and west ballroom, but also for the new spaces and the kitchen spaces. The kitchen will be properly ventilated, has a grease trap, and it's all kind of taking load off of that existing kitchen space, helping that situation out. We created a little bit of an outdoor patio with a parking protected balustrade and colonnade along the outside, so you can have a little bit of flow from the inside to the outside of the building. And then these are those new main exits that exit directly from the ballroom space. The east-west ballroom actually exits directly into the vestibule and out. So we reconfigured that a little bit as well. This is a little bit of a blow-up view of the back elevation of the building. There we go. Thank you. The palette for the outside of the material, the outside of the building is essentially a buff architectural CMU with precast stone lintels around the end conditions, and then the inside would be fiber composite panel and fiber composite columns, essentially, similar to what we were showing in the rendering that we included in the packet. Again, a little bit of a modern take on the historic culture, historic aspects of the building, but not departing too much from the actual what's happening on Maple and what's happening on Bridge. The light fixtures are all dark sky compliant. These are really more atmospheric lighting. These will exist as sconces flanking the entry portals, and then we have these post top lights that exist on the outside of that colonnade on the kind of the fenced in area for the patio. The rest of the building is just really accent lighting to highlight the pathways and the doors on the back of the building to protect those and make those a little bit more a little lit, more lit in the evenings. The kitchen addition, the banquet kitchen, is actually going to be red brick. It'll match the existing character of the existing bricks, going to be a little bit more recessive, highlighting the facade of the new, but it will have some of the same corbelling and detailing that exists on the existing building.
Very good.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Pape, any members of the public have a comment?
Not at this time.
If not, we'll proceed with Mr. Brown, our architectural consultant.
I think overall, the design of the addition is very compatible with the existing building. We're matching some materials, and the two arch entrances don't struggle with that queen crown entrance back in the corner, which is good. It doesn't try to be the same, but it does make a statement, including the logo over the doors. So I think all in all, it's very well done, and can't say anything else.
Very good. Mr. Mccartney?
I don't have any problems with the architecture, but I'd like to have check with Superintendent Gersler for the sewage treatment. Okay. I don't have any problems with the architecture.
What's that?
Yeah, anything we do in ground is going to have to be permitted through the city, and we'll have to meet with the highway superintendent to make sure that we're in compliance with any stormwater management on site. We're planning on including an additional dry well on site to help collect and not surcharge the stormwater system and then overflow into the existing catch basins on site. So we're going to slow that water down off the new addition before it gets discharged into the storm system.
Thank you. Ms. Collins?
I have no questions or comments. I think it's gonna be a good addition.
Ms. Andrews?
Yeah, I think I like the addition. The other concern was the water use, but I don't know how much of that fits in our purvey.
As far as additional water use? Or
Yeah, if you put in 5,200 feet, there's going to be 200 or 300 people they could, cooking for. And I don't know if there's any kind of threshold or,
Well, we've looked at the existing water service. The existing water service of the building is higher than the capacity and actually need for the existing services, inclusive of what we would be doing for the new. So we're still well within the capacities that exist on the water line coming in. I'm not 100% certain, but I believe we have a 6-inch line, and it's pretty extensive at this point.
good.
Yep. Now, we ran that by the kitchen folks, and actually a lot of the equipment, not to belabor the point here, but a lot of the equipment that we're going to be doing and then potentially replacing is much more efficient than what is currently existing in the existing spaces. A lot less water usage on that front for a commercial style kitchen.
Good.
Thank you. We have no comments from the city engineer, but you will work with them on
Absolutely.
sanitary and the rest of the water system.
Yep.
Is it, I'm sorry, can I
Sure.
just, sorry, on
No,
those plans, does it say that you're going to do brick on the side?
I think we did show it off.
I thought I saw it.
I know we called it off somewhere. I believe it may be on the elevations. The
Okay,
other elevations.
alright,
That's the plan. It'll be brick veneer on that.
Okay.
I think it does show on one of the
It
elevations.
does, yeah. I know for a fact that it's detailed in
Yeah.
our construction documents right now.
That's it.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Fitzgerald? Seeker?
Yeah. I had no comments other than because you're going over 4,000 square feet, it's no longer a type 2, so you gotta go through the seeker analysis. Do you have any questions? Yep.
Rated. Excuse me. Okay, regarding seeker, will the proposed action create a material conflict with the adopted land use plan or zoning regulations? Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of the use of land? Small or no impact. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community? I'd say no. Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of Critical environmental area, no. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkway? I would say no. Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and it fails to incorporate reasonable available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities? No. Will the proposed action impact existing public-private water supplies? Small or no or small impact. Public-private wastewater treatment utilities, same. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? No. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources, for example, wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora and fauna? No. Will the proposed action result in an increase in potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems? No. Will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health? No. Therefore,
Having found no or small impact, the board could make a finding of a negative declaration.
I make a motion on Falls Planning Board, hereby accept the emergency status for Queensberry Hotel, owner agent property located at 88 Ridge Street. The board has determined the action to be unlisted action, has reviewed the short form environmental assessment plan upon documentation and discussion, issues a negative declaration.
Second?
Thank you. All in favor?
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Now, I'll make a motion that Glens Falls Planning Board, acting as the Board of Architecture and Site Plan Review, hereby grant architectural and site plan approval for the project identified as Queensberry Hotel located at 88 Ridge Street as presented at the meeting of 1 June 2021, subject to one condition that the applicant confer with the city engineer, Mr. Gersler, regarding any sewer, any sanitary sewer, storm sewer, or water issues, questions, etc.
Second.
Second. All in favor? All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? No. Very good.
Architectural, did you?
I
Your
included
motion, okay.
Didn't vote on it. I'd like to commend Mr. Moore for spending the money to be in the city, and to improve one of the gems of the city. Thank you.
Thank you, we're very excited. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
You okay? Did you change?
Zelensky?
No, but we had an extra one show up. For releasing them.
We'll table it. So, next.
Take care, Jeff. Thank you.
Where are we going?
To the Hudson.
All right.
Okay, the next item is site plan review 21-0017, Brian Bronzino, if I pronounce that right, owner. Owner of section 310.15, block 1, lot 4, commonly known as 56 Glen Street, is seeking approval to conduct retail sales at this location pursuant to City Code Chapter 220, Section 220-19C, subpart 1. This application requires planning board review and approval. And you are,
I'm Robin Barkenhagen, I'm one of the branch partners, this is our attorney.
Alexander Becker.
thank you. Bear with me. So, before we begin our review, is there anything you'd care to add or state regarding this application?
Sure, I understand, a number of the board members aren't here tonight, and I understand that the city still has not made a final determination as to whether to opt in or out. So we weren't sure whether you wanted to kind of table this formally and wait, until a later date, until we have more board members, until the city made a determination, but we are here, so to the extent that anyone has questions, or there's information that we can give you,
Sure.
we'd be more than happy to do that.
Appreciate that. I'll defer to our.
I would say discuss it if the board wants to, so that you can give them feedback, because the city has until December to pass, so tabling it, it could extend it a long time, and then they don't have any feedback.
Right, but after giving feedback.
Yeah, so even after giving feedback, even if the board wanted to proceed to approve it at whether it's this meeting or a future meeting, it would still be recommended that you condition it upon any subsequent laws passed by the Common Council. So under the Marijuana Act, the Common Council has this year to decide if they want to exempt out certain uses within the city. So as I understand, they're looking at that, but they haven't made a decision of how they want to proceed. And it doesn't apply to every use, but this type of facility.
Thank you. So that said, if you have anything you care to offer or discuss before we begin our.
Sure. We certainly hope that the city will ultimately opt in or not opt out. We think this is a great opportunity to generate revenue for the city. I think we'd be naive to sit here and think that this particular product is not already being sold and purchased within the municipality. And this would give the city, both kind of a say in how it is conducted, assuming it passes, and also certainly a share of the revenue, which we anticipate to be very significant. Obviously, we're not here tonight to make a determination as to whether the city is going to opt in, but we certainly hope that you do. We believe this particular building is ideally suited for this business. It is an existing building. If you've been to the building, it is, I would almost call it fortress-like in appearance. For security purposes, we think that's going to be incredibly beneficial. The fact that it's located right across from the Civic Center, we think is also hugely helpful from a parking perspective. Obviously, the City Center is, capacity for 5,000 people, is used to an influx of cars. We do not anticipate that this will generate a significant traffic problem. It is a small building, and it will be not, for example, a liquor store. You have basically an unlimited capacity of people flowing in and out constantly. That's not the business model here. It is going to be somewhat appointment-based with a large focus on delivery. And so we really think that the location, coupled with the stature of the building itself, should really pose no problems to the city. And again, we're here to answer any questions or concerns you may have to any of those points or any others.
Very good, thank you. We'll proceed. Any comments from the public, Mr. Clerk?
Very not at this time.
Nothing at this time, thank you. We'll begin with our architectural consultant, Mr.
I
Brown.
don't have any comments at this time.
Okay. We have nothing from the city engineer. I'll start over here with board member Ms. Culligan.
So my biggest concern is parking and traffic. So it's only going to be appointment only, or will you have walk-ins or like a certain time for walk-ins?
I believe that has yet to be fully determined, but it's, the nature of the business is you can't just have infinite people in and out. So for example, if someone doesn't have an appointment, they might be able to show up and make an appointment, but depending on how busy it is, they might be told, come back in half an hour. I do not have a final number on the capacity, but I'm told the estimated capacity is somewhere around 40 people.
Okay.
So we're not talking about huge spaces and huge quantities of people.
Right. Yeah, it's just mainly like that section is just, it's like rubberneck with cars, so.
Right, and again, a focus on delivery, but it's not like a liquor store where you're just gonna run in and out.
Right.
If you are walking in, you'll be greeted at reception, you won't be able to go right into the floor, and reception will tell you when your appointment is. If they can squeeze you in, so take a walk downtown, have some lunch and come back, or if they can't squeeze you in, they'll have you come back at a later time. But for the most part, we'll be taking appointments, setting up times, having an online store, that's where the delivery will come in, you can just order and we can bring it right to you, which we anticipate that being a major part of the business, particularly, if there is any handicap or like that, they're not gonna wanna go anywhere, they just want it delivered to them, and we'll be able to provide that. There will really be on-site parking. The public will not be allowed to pull into that lot or pull out of that lot. If we will have a place for handicap, if someone needs to come there, obviously, and for deliveries, and maybe for staff, but that lot is small, and pulling out of it is not easy, so we wouldn't want to have on-site parking. And
Right.
the city owns a parking garage 2 blocks away. Like she said, 5,000 people come to town for a hockey game, and we have no problem getting them parked and getting them to walk over to their destination. And that also, it helps the other businesses downtown when people are walking past them.
Are you planning any upgrades to the building, anything like that?
I believe there's going to be minimal exterior work. I think it would largely consist of any kind of lighting or security concerns. There's going to be some work inside, but no appreciable change to the character of the building.
Okay. That's it.
Thank you. Ms. Andrews?
My concern was as a site plan review, parking and lighting. You said that you don't expect that people will park in the back. Don't you think that some people will just go back out of curiosity and think that that's an entrance?
I think we can certainly, if that's something that's, of concern to the council, we can certainly post signs, make it clear that that's not, a public.
Because we did that just to see how bad it is, and it's pretty bad. Yeah, it's not paved, if you haven't been back there, it's run over, but with grass and stuff like that, and I was imagining how even 5, I think you said something like 5 staff people, how you'd have even 5 people back there with deliveries also at the same time.
Yeah, we'd probably not have the staff parking there. If any parking would be for deliveries, for drop-offs, pickups, and, for the delivery people, drop-off pickups, and maybe 1 handicap spot, just so if someone does want to come in.
And also, a large part of the business is going to be online. There's going to be an online presence, and that's certainly something we can also emphasize on the website. Is parking.
Is the business entirely dispensary, or is there a storefront and product that's not going to be like through a medical? I don't know how the business is, what the status is.
Entirely dispensary.
It's dispensary, okay.
And I
So
could,
the appointment concept is much more of this.
I could foresee a chain across that, that could be, we will have security on site, obviously, so we could have our outside security guard could be there to let the deliveries in if they need to, but we would certainly discourage in any way possible anyone to come down Glen Street and turn into there and try to turn out of there. And it's just not a realistic thing to do. Like you said, you tried it. And I think the city actually owns half of that parking lot.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
My other question was the lighting, the possibility of pedestrian traffic. I didn't see any real lighting on the outside of the building, in the front or the back.
So that is something that, assuming we're able to have approval, and that's something certainly conditioned on the city's ultimate opt-in, there will be, lighting plan to make sure that everything is well lit. That's something that has not yet happened. Obviously, they don't want to move forward with the expense until they know that the site will be at least conditionally approved for the use.
Okay. Yeah, I thought that was part of the site plan review, so we may want to hook that up eventually.
Sure, yeah, no, and that's why we're here tonight. So whatever you need from us, we would like to answer that and get you anything that you need.
That's good.
Thank you. Mr. Hardy.
Yeah, how does it work? You have a receptionist and one person at a time goes into the place to get the marijuana? Or how does that work?
Maybe up to 2 groups, not large groups, but 2 or 3 people would be considered one group. And maybe up to be able to have 2 groups in at one time. And then they would go in, they would be let in through a buzz door. And they would go in and they would, get to talk to the specialists in helping them pick out the proper product. And then when they purchase their product, so the product they're seeing on the shelves is not the product they're going to be purchasing. That product will be prepared in another room, and then will be brought into when they check out. They'll be given their product, and then when they go out the door, they will be out. They will be out of the facility. They won't. It's not like they're going to be able to come running back in or anything like that. That's part of the security plan you have to have for any kind of dispensary. Is once you're in, you're in, and once you're out, you're out. But yeah, I could foresee maybe 5 or 6 people in there at one time. But at that point, that you're pushing it. But I'm more than one.
Okay, thanks. That's
I don't have many comments, but this facility is in the central commercial district, so no off-street parking is required. So people, as you say, they would either have to seek parking elsewhere in the parking garage, on the street, across the street, or where have you, and primarily walking, because there, as you're well aware, there is no parking for that facility. What are the intended hours of operation?
I hadn't even thought about that. Brian likes to have long hours. I imagine he probably want to be like a 10 to 10, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m.
But yeah, I think we anticipate most of the traffic, like any business, is gonna be kind of during certain hours more than others.
Sure. Okay.
It begs the lighting question again. It begs the lighting question again, because some people are gonna be approaching.
Right, especially in the winter.
Because there's no light, to my knowledge, there's a couple of street lights, standing lamps, along the way, but that doesn't really, I live in not that neighborhood, but I live on the east side, and that's all the light we have too, and there's not a lot of light there.
Well, certainly in the winter, it gets dark in the
Yeah,
30s.
yeah.
We appreciate it.
Since that's the only light, there isn't much on the
Okay,
street side.
yes, but certainly, so if you can picture the building, there's I think the 3 old windows and then the one big window that used to be the door. I could certainly see a couple weeks ago, or last month, I think, when we're talking about the barn lighting, the ones that are like out in front of Mean Max, that kind of lighting coming off over those windows to light off light up the sidewalk in front of there. I don't go there much at night, so I can't think of the street lighting around it, but that would be a simple fix to make sure that there is lighting out front of there, and I'm sorry that is not.
I think those kind of lighting fixtures would be in keeping with the architecture in the period.
Yeah, the gooseneck
Yeah.
pan, yeah.
Yeah, well, you see them a lot around the city. Actually, when I was watching that meeting and I Googled it, and then I started looking downtown at all the business, I'm like, wow, everyone uses those. It's nice lighting, and it gives you that old-timey feel.
Yeah. Is the only entrance gonna be in the back, or is gonna be a street entrance on the Glen Street
The only
side?
entrance will be in the back.
So the actual walkway needs to be addressed, getting from the front to the back door, because that's hazardous at this point.
That is still gravel, right? Yes,
Yeah.
it would have to be paved and a proper slope.
Yeah, because that would be part of your plan as well.
Yes.
Okay, my only other question is dumpster refuse, how do you intend to deal with that?
I'm not sure that's been addressed yet. I don't think this is a business that we would anticipate generating huge amounts of refuse. Certainly, whatever we need to do, we will make sure that we are in compliance and that it's something that comports with the city code and is easily accessible.
Yeah, again, not something that we hadn't thought of. Not a lot of garbage generated by this thing. Brian is a very zero waste kind of guy. And so we probably have a composting bin and the garbage in the recycle bin. Not
Not
you know,
really.
bins, not dumpsters, we wouldn't need access to that. But, it makes a point of where they would pick them up, we probably have to
Right.
pull them around the corner.
Right down around it, down
Yeah.
onto whatever that is.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, because getting a truck in and out of that driveway would be crazy.
So basically, you can just, these are good questions that the board has, and when you do this actual plan showing the walkway and the lighting, you can show a dumpster enclosure on there, they like to see that, and what's gonna be paved versus remaining gravel,
Mhm.
any sort of site components. It seems like that would be the next step, would be to go ahead and
Right,
see a site
we would,
Do the more
we would like
formal
to see,
review.
right, the building, as our attorney stated, you know, the walkway, the entrance, lighting, and any refuse, containment. that
Sure.
sort of thing.
And what's the best medium to do that in? A blow-up photo showing the plans and dimensions and surfaces?
like a survey drawing.
Yeah.
And with the lighting, you guys, the board usually likes to see printouts, right, of the.
Photometric.
Photometrics.
Photometrics, and sometimes printout showing
these
the
are-
actual light fixture.
Sure.
You know, typical site plan would show,
Yeah, absolutely.
you know, building, Glen Street, North Arrow. There, in our checklist, there are, I don't know if you've looked at that.
Yeah, do samples on there.
That gives you a pretty good guide on what you
Sure.
want to include in the site plan, so.
We have an architectural whole thing, so we have all
Right.
of our.
Great, and we can just answer these kind of final specific questions and,
Right.
um,
So, what's your recommendation, we table this?
So I would recommend the table it pending submission of
Submission of
the
a
site
formal
plan.
Site plan.
okay.
It's for seeker purposes, you don't have to do it tonight, but from what you're describing, it would fall within a type 2, just a reuse of an existing
So
building.
there's
Yeah,
no
we don't appreciate it.
no
We
action.
didn't anticipate any secret concerns.
Yeah, there's no action required.
Yeah, unless something massively changes about the plan.
All right, so if there are no other questions, then I'll make a motion that the Glens Falls Planning Board tables the application of, I got it here somewhere. Tables, site plan review 21-0017, Brian Bronzino, owner of 56 Glens Street, as discussed at the meeting of 1 June 2021, pending the submission of a formal site plan.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, you can call me or.
And
Mr.
likewise, I
Renovation?
hope you guys have my contact information as well, but certainly happy to answer any questions the board has at any time.
Very good.
And you can work with, the code office will help you too, as
Yes,
far as what
it's
you
been
need,
working with us
plans.
already.
This is awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, have a good evening.
I will make a motion that the Untitled Planning Board table the application of Michael Zelinski, owner of 203 Bay Street, seeking a curb cut to widen the driveway, apron the driveway at this location pending the appearance of someone representing that application.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Yep.
Um, Other than that, I have nothing. Is there anything else you'd like to bring up?
Yeah, maybe, when you're doing special events, you can, include that, this first guy that, the first guy that, was at Gavin,
Is that occasion?
yeah,
Who's that,
Because-
McCartney?
yeah, and yeah, you can make a special permit for, parking in front of the house.
Send me an email.
Okay.
I didn't forget you. I got your email. You said you had a couple of class rides or something and something. A couple weeks ago. I didn't forget it, Peter. I'll get in touch with you.
All right.
Good point. That said, I make a motion we adjourn the meeting of June 1, 2021.
Second.
All in favor? Yes. Any opposed? Thank you.